House of Hagens. We in here. We about to do it big. What I need you to do, first and foremost, hit the subscribe button. And then after you hit the subscribe button, you hit the notification button. So that way I know for sure you're going to be tuned in to everything we got planned for y'all. This is about to be crazy. You know what I mean? Oh, good. Coming to you live all the way from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm just playing, y'all. Y'all know who it is.
Hey,
It's Darius Brittney vs. Shay, and we are House of Hagens, back ready to talk, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What we talking about today, love?
We are talking about our story, how we met, how we got to this point, and how we became House Hagens. Well, we'll be August 3rd.
Yeah. So, you know, we had some great conversations this past weekend, and we have a million topics, but what we started to realize is everybody's fascinated by our story. They want to know, like, how did you all get to this point of knowing that you were ready to move forward? And it's interesting how this all started. So, for real, because it started as a working relationship. Our friend Irvin, who...
Shout out to Irv.
As he would say, I'm a writer, director, actor, playwright, teacher, educator. I love that dude for that reason. But no, seriously, he's like one of the coldest people I've ever met in my life. And it was interesting because he had this great show. And he kept telling me about it. He had told me about this for months in advance before it was ever auditioned. He was like, Darius, I got this show. And this show is going to be a powerful one. So he was like, I want you to audition. It's time. I want you to check it out. I was like, man, I think I'm gonna be able to do it. Summertime came around. It was like, the way my schedule is, Irv, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this one, dog. But he invited me to the table read. He just wanted to have me read for one of the characters. The character I actually ended up becoming, which was Abel in the show Zella. We still didn't have a Zella, and he auditioned several people, and Brittney became Zella. So I'm just trying to condense this as much as possible. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Zella and Abel were the main characters in this show. So the way the relationship was, it was a very, very close relationship because they were married in the show, which is hilarious. But the marriage was horrible. Let's just say that. Like, I was the worst possible husband you could possibly be on the face of the planet. I was a horrible father, all of these types of things. But the nature of our closeness in the show, we had to develop chemistry. It had to look real. So we just made sure we talked every day. I actually, like, Brittney came to rehearsal one day and I was like, listen, I feel like we're okay, we're cool, but I'm like, we gotta really, really get to know each other because we have to be in each other's space. And I wanted her to be comfortable, and I didn't want her to have somebody in her space, especially when you have to be in her space aggressively. I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. So we just started talking. I'm like, when you come in every day, tell me about your day. We got to talk about it so that way we can start to build that chemistry. And it was just a working relationship. I noticed that she was struggling with the show, and it was just overwhelming because she was on stage most of the time. And because of that, I just wanted to just lend her a hand. That was really it. That's all it kind of came down to. I just wanted her to know that she wasn't by herself, because I had been in a show where I was on stage most of the time, and you kind of by yourself. Most people don't understand unless they've been there, and I just wanted her to be comfortable. So I'm gonna hand it over to her because that's kind of where we kind of started to develop a bond at. You know what I'm saying? Just literally being good friends. That's what it was.
Yeah, the show was iconic in its own right. So when I met him, it was at the table reading, and coming in and being the lead character, you feel almost, to me, intimidated because this is my first stage production. Very first. So I'm a newbie. I'm a stage virgin, like never been on stage like this before. So getting there to this table reading, hearing him speak, hearing everybody else, it was like everybody's so experienced. I said, do I have what it takes? And Irvin was always reassuring me, like, you got it. I would not have put you in this position if I didn't think you could do it. I was like, okay, cool. I could take that. But as the weeks and the months went by with the rehearsals, it got really, really tough because I had to deal with something that was outside of myself. I never had to do this before, and I had to get over that first. stop excusing it and then just go ahead and take the plunge. And so the more often we were on scene together, and especially when it got to the most aggressive parts of the show, it was like I had to take the plunge. I had to really kind of dive deep into it. And so out of that, we developed a bond. It was a friendship. It was something where we just couldn't leave each other alone after the show was done. And we did 3 days, 5 shows, and after the show was over, we still kept in contact. Like we still were hanging out and still talking. Well, everybody was.
Yeah, we're family. Zella is family.
Zella cast is family.
We still got a group chat and everything. Like
everything.
We actually like each other. That's kind of cool. You don't like people at the end of the show.
Right. Yeah, we still hang out. We still kind of grow together, and it was just a blessing to have those have our tribe with us to witness this love, because they had their speculations anyway. They had their suspicions. They was like, "Yeah, sure, y'all ain't together." Like,
yeah,
sure.
And that was the funny thing. Like, it was legitimately a working relationship. Like, and I'm happy with that, because I told everybody the other day, I didn't want to cross the line and be that guy who was taking advantage of her. Because I have so many friends who are actresses, I've heard them tell stories about things starting off as help, and then somebody kind of see you vulnerable, and then they cross over lines, and it's just like, I'm like, I don't want to do that to her. I genuinely just want her to have somebody that she knows that can support her, especially with me being her counterpart on stage. So because of that, I just made sure that I reassured her as much as possible. And the part that was interesting after the show, so for me, I had literally recently just ended a relationship, and it was like one of those things where as Brittney and I hung out, she made it known how she felt. Like, she was like, I like you. And
he was cute.
Yeah, and she let me know, like, she was like, I like you more than just a friend. Like, she was just like, I like you, you know what I'm saying? And I was like,
I started off the year with a breakup.
Yeah.
I started off the year, so I was
crazy
like,
year.
Might as well shoot my shot.
Right.
So.
And I told her, I was like, I don't want to do that, because I just got out of this relationship, and to be honest, the exact words I told her, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm going to care enough. I'm like, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't know if I have the emotional capacity to actually care about your feelings. And your feelings mean something to me. And I don't want to misplace them just because I'm worried about me. So I kept telling her, I'm like, look, I need time. Like, if we gonna even try to date at all, like on some serious stuff, I'm gonna need time. That's just really what it comes down to. And it's funny because, like, looking back at it, I didn't know what I needed time for. To be honest, I just feel like, no, if I'm being honest, I feel like I had rushed into so many relationships. And I was just like, you know what? Apparently, that's not the way to do this. Which I had already knew. I had already been on that. And really just was just like, I can't do that again. And she was very forward, but very persistent. But I was like, no. And it was hard because I saw it affecting her, and I knew she was like really, really wanting to try. She wanted to try. That's one thing I can say. She did very much want to try and see where it could go, because we had good chemistry, you know what I'm saying? And all of that was there. But I was just like, I need time. I just need time. That's what I was.
That's all he kept saying.
And she was looking so confused.
I was like, what you mean time? Like, you just broke up. Like, you single, I'm single. Let's find out where. And we already had the friendship. It was already established. We already had the foundation. Yeah. And the one thing I loved about him during the show, he always made it known, like, I'm your best friend. Like, that's it first established that. And then when he turned into that character Abel, it was like he was restrained himself. And so for him to have that type of emotional control appealed to me, because he was a really good actor. He was acting. He was really good at what he was doing. So after the show, it was like we were chilling, and I was so nervous around him. I don't know why. We went through this whole show, we went through all the rehearsals, and I was so nervous around him after the fact. I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I should say something. I don't know if I want to, like, you know, make it known to him. I don't want to be like that girl that's like just you know, eyeballing and googly eye every guy and just batting my eyelashes. But it was like I genuinely felt something, and I just like, you know what, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna leave it alone. And if he says something after that, that's fine. But I'm just gonna make it known. Like, and I've always done that because I always felt like, you know, how would you know how I feel if I didn't say it? How would you know about what I'm thinking if I don't communicate that with you? And that we were big on that. We had to communicate. Like, he forced us to talk during the show. Like, I had to tell him about my day. I had to tell him about what was going on throughout the whole period of the rehearsals and throughout the whole show. I had to tell him everything about me. And so learning that, doing that, expounding more on it and growing in that relationship, it was like, I have to tell you about this. I cannot let this just sit and fester and not tell you how I feel. So when I told him, I said, you know what, I really dig you. I like you, and you know, I think that we can go beyond just a friendship. And what stuck out in my mind, like, I didn't want to misread it. I had to warn myself every time. But his character, and this is like a private moment that we had, but before every rehearsal, before every scene, before every day of the show, he would always come up to me and whisper in my ear, you belong to me. And so hearing that, you know, I always thought of it like, I'm hearing this as Zella. I'm not hearing this as Brittney. And I had to kind of really lock away my feelings because I always was the one that wore my feelings on my sleeve. And as a woman, you tend to do that only because you are that vulnerable creature, and you want to have that man in your life that's going to protect you and to, you know, really guard you in a sense. And we talked about that over the weekend about, you know, a woman always thinking about her emotions first and how she's the emotional one, how she could just let it go because she's just a woman. But you got to think about how the man feels in that situation. But that's a whole nother topic. But when he told me that, I had to remind myself, like, he's not talking to you, Brittney. He's not talking to you. He's not talking to you. He's talking to your character. And so after the show, it was like, I wonder if he really meant that in any way, shape, or form to me. And I had to make it known. So I was like, well, I had liked it at you. And I had wanted to know if you had liked it me too. And so I think those moments and everyone's suspicions were correct. So we just sat down, had a conversation. He wouldn't leave, and we just talked. Like, we just had those moments where we just always talk. Conversations on the phone, 4 hours long. Yeah. Just talking, just all night long. Knowing I gotta get up and go to work in the morning. Yeah. Next morning, like bruh. Yeah. But it was just like, I didn't want. It felt like old school, but it felt like something was lingering. Like, we just couldn't leave each other alone. Yeah. And so. And
it's like powerful. The timeline of this. We met in June of 2018. Just so you all know, it was the middle part of June we met, and the show ended in September. Like I say, so it wasn't this very long process that we had the chance to build a friendship. A lot of it really was just being genuine. I think that was the main thing that we were trying to focus on. I wasn't trying to hide myself from her. She wasn't trying to hide herself from me. And I think it helped us to get to know each other more quickly, to know if it was something worthwhile as far as moving forward.
That's good.
So I can tell you what happened. So we kept hanging out and stuff like that, and I'm not gonna lie, I still was pulling away. I remember she just came to me, she was just like, I don't want to do this again. Like, I keep on telling people how I feel and they keep running from me, and I was just like, in my brain, like,
of that.
Like, nigga, I told you what I said. Like, hey, I said what I said, but like, hey.
You know how you shoot your shot, like, going back to high school, middle school, you shoot your shot, it was like, hey, I ain't trying to be out there, like, and you just feel so crushed.
I just, you know, honest, yo.
It was like one of those type of moments. It was like, oh, for real. So
I was just trying to be honest, and I was doing it because I didn't want it to be a situation where later, if I was to move out of the situation, she said she didn't know. Yeah, that's what I always hear women say, like, let me know what's really going on. And I made sure I did that. I was just straightforward about how I felt. And what happened was, she invited me to church one day, and this was crazy. It was October 14th. I'll never forget the day because it's my nephew's birthday, and it was just the day of, like, before I started my 40-day fast, all kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
She's on stage singing, And clear as day, I heard, "That's your wife." And I was like, so ain't nobody else hear that? And ain't nobody in my whispering in my ear nothing. I was just like, nah, that don't make sense because this ain't my girlfriend. So I don't even know where that came from. I'm trying to keep space. And I heard, "That's your wife," clear as day. So that really made me step back. And like I say, I was fasting. So like I was telling everybody the other day, I'm trusting God for all these things, and I'm having all these revelations. I'm meeting, it's so many people that I kept meeting, and we kept having all these chance encounters. All kind of stuff was happening. So I couldn't pick and choose what I wanted to be a revelation from God. I couldn't do that. I had to really step back and like, well, why would that even come into my head if I'm not trying to even really move forward with dating right now? Why would that come into my head? So 2 things happened. It made me step back. I had to look at her for like who really is she right now? Like what is she showing me? What is she putting forth? And then I also had to understand, what do I mean when I say I need time? I had to really step back because I'm obsessed with time, and I always say that it's now. It's always now.
Don't ask him what time it is.
Ooh, don't do it. I will make you mad. But
you gotta watch and a phone. He's still
yeah, and I purposely haven't changed the batteries in my watch, so it's like it's now. Like it's a whole extended metaphor. Like it's kind of crazy, but I had to understand that usually the time that I would take after a relationship, that was for me to just be free, to sow your wild oats, so to speak. So that's really what it come down to. It was either that or nothing. And my brain, I'm gonna tell you, this is how mature I had gotten. I was like, well, I'm past sowing my wild oats. I don't want to waste my time with nobody because I don't want to end up in the in-between again with nobody. I don't want to be in the gray. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to go on dates with you. I don't do nothing. We group settings. If I invite you, invite your family. That's how I felt. Like, invite your friends, invite your dog. It ain't no one-on-one nothing. That's really where I was moving towards. But I had to understand, like, for real, man, it's like if she was showing me who she was, though, she was showing me that, and I knew she was going through like a tough season. She had kept saying throw the whole year away, and I kept saying, why would you throw away the year? Like, what would you do that for? Because like time don't work that way. Like whatever decision you would make later, the same thing I'm telling her, I had to tell myself is now. So what would happen differently next year once this year's magic's over? It's gonna be your mindset. So I had to really pay attention. I'm like, this person is showing me love in one of their rough seasons. It's a down season for her. She's heartbroken and she's still trying to recover, and she's still able to show me that she cares about me. She's still putting forth my needs. She's still trusting me and all this different type of stuff. And I was like, well, that's what you say you want in a woman, especially what you say you want in your wife. So it's like, maybe it's not so far-fetched that this could be a person that you can not just date, but it could end up being serious. And I had to really sit with that. And when that happened, when I took that time to do that, it made me understand, like, okay, well, this is worth trying. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I know what I heard. I heard it clear as day. I know exactly what I heard. So I had to step back out of myself and realize that put your ego aside, put your past experiences to the side, and be in the present moment and really pay attention to what's going on. And that's what I did. I didn't tell her exactly what was revealed to me because I didn't want that to overwhelm her. I didn't want her to try to move too fast or any of that. But I flipped it. I went from I'm pulling back to, okay, let's see if it's gonna work. I'm ready. Boom. And once I make that decision, that's just how I feel. I'm there. And as I told them the other day, the only person that can mess it up is you. Once I make the decision that we riding, like that's just where I'm at nowadays. And I can't say that it was always that way, but as I've grown and really figured out who I want to be individually and who I want to be within the confines of a relationship, I made sure that decision is firm, it's solid. And it caught her off guard. And I'll let her tell you about that. It freaked her. Then she started tiptoeing back, like, wait a minute. That don't usually happen that way. Like, she was trying to back away from me.
Oh, God. He got me crying. Okay, so when it happened, he didn't tell me a thing. happened? I said, well, what happened? What made you change your mind? Like, what was it? And he was just like, I can't tell you that right now. And I was getting mad because I really wanted to know, like, apart from me being my mama's child and just being naturally nosy, I really wanted to know because, like he was saying, like, I just wanted to throw the whole year away. I started off with a breakup, and you know how you build this relationship in your mind. You build the future up. You build, you know, your lifestyle with this person, and it doesn't work out. What do you do? And this play came, and it was such a freeing experience that I had to deal with my emotions, not knowing that what the character was feeling was what I was feeling. And Irvin told us that. He was like, you may relate to this character in some shape, some way, some form. And I had to take that to heart because I felt like she was emotionally deprived. So was I. Whether it was from an outside force or from within. And I felt that I was dealing with both of those different battles. And so during that time, I had this wonderful light in my life that would spark my day. Not saying that whatever he did just made it better. It was just knowing that I had someone I can confide in with this emotional battle I was dealing with, and to have him be an advocate for me. And so fast forwarding to after October, he wouldn't tell me a thing. He wouldn't tell me. But he was definitely being the pursuer. And I got to the point where I was scared. Like, do I really want this? Like, is this what I really pray for? Because you know how you pray for something and you pray for it because it's just a thing to pray for. It's the fad of the faith. And then all of a sudden you realize the responsibility of the thing that you actually want. Can you really handle it? Can you really be mature enough to handle it? One of my favorite scriptures is Ezekiel 16. And within that passage, it talks about how you were a babe. Let's talk about the children of Israel. And you were a babe, and you were discarded. Excuse me. And you were not salted. You were not cared for. You were just a newborn babe, just covered in blood, and just no one cared for you. And God passed by, and He saw you in your state, and He took you in, cleaned you up, put you on these beautiful garments, jewels, and taught you how to be the woman that you are, how to be a lady, and how to grow. And when you were ready for love, when the time came, God made a covenant with you that you are His and He is yours. And it was such a beautiful passage that I had to realize that you have to grow up in what you pray for. You have to really mature in the things like, Lord, just send me my husband now. It's about, are you really ready to be a wife for this husband that you want to be? And so when He flipped the script on me, I panicked because I said, well, Lord, if this is really it, if this is truly it, if this is what I've been asking God for, if this is what I want, maybe I am mature. Maybe I am being responsible. Maybe I am being the big girl that you have trained me to be. Because I would study marriage, I would study that topic, and I would just get more information, more insight, just to be knowledgeable of it. That way, when I'm ready to apply my knowledge, I will be at least wise in that fact, at least knowing what I should be doing, and not just playing the Stepford Wives card and just being attentive to only him, but also learning how to be available to myself. And so when I learned that, when I became that woman that had that covenant, I had to grow up. Plain and simple. You got to grow up, sis. Like, you really got to understand. You can't just pray for everything and think you're going to get it just because of the state you're in or the circumstances. Because some of that stuff you got into was by yourself. Yeah. And you had to be trained. Yeah. You had to be trained in order to learn how to love, learn how to care, learn how to cook, clean, care for a man. Forgive, all those different things, yourself and others.
Communicate effectively.
Effectively.
One of the things I always talk about And I've just grown up around women in a very close relationship with my sisters, my mom, my nieces, and all that stuff. So I understand women a little bit differently than most men. But women tell you everything, and then in the emotional moments, they assume you know. I've always thought that to be weird. Like, why would you wait to the most... Oh, man. Cut off on this. Before I was rudely interrupted by this Sony A5100, who's going to sponsor us one day. You know what I'm saying? That's being recorded into a MacBook Pro on a Samson G-Track microphone. All that good stuff. Anywho, while y'all chilling and just soaking up this good information, make sure y'all subscribe below. Right there. No, it's right here. You subscribe right here. The bell is next to it, and you like it right there. I learned it. Yeah. So subscribe. All that. Anyway, so we're getting close to the end of this story. But what I was saying was, I watch women communicate. That's what we were talking about. Women communicating is interesting because in certain moments, when you need them to tell you everything about everything, like you need to know the important details, sometimes they clam up and they just like, you should just know. And we didn't do that. I made her talk, and even when it was uncomfortable for me, it was uncomfortable for me because I knew it was uncomfortable for her. So I knew she was struggling with why are you trying to make me do this? But I knew that we had to have certain conversations in order to progress to where we are now. And it was very important that we had those conversations, and it was vital to the heartbeat of the relationship. If we didn't have those conversations, it would have been impossible. And it's interesting that she mentioned the children of Israel. And I had a thought as soon as she said it. Relationships can be like the children of Israel wandering in the desert. A trip that should take you a week can take you 40 years if you are not listening, if you are not paying attention. Like I said, when I came into this, the thought was, that's your wife. What if I'd have ran from that? What if I wouldn't have listened? What if I wouldn't have listened to that communication channel with God? Because that's a back and forth thing. What if I would have clung to my past? Because my past didn't work. Or else I would have been married if it would have worked. So clearly I didn't have all the answers. So you have to adhere to what's being communicated to you. You gotta really listen. Not just to yourself and your own thoughts. You gotta listen to your partner. And of course, like I said, you have to listen to God, or else you're gonna wander aimlessly. And that's why so many people get lost in a relationship, because they're not paying attention to the smallest of details. Everything that's ever gone wrong in all of your relationships, if you sit back and really think about it, you could have saw it coming. And I think what was big for our story that we wanted to do was to not repeat the same mistakes. And because we just really hashed it out over and over and over and over and again, and that's what led to the rules of engagement that we ended up writing. This is what led us to being able to speak the language that we speak with each other now. This is what's led to all of our millions of inside jokes that we have. This is what's led to all the everything that's developed was just taking that time to really want to make this work and to want to have a story that was worth telling. And I think we've reached that point because people are just happy to hear it. Yeah. And it's so crazy.
Almost refreshing to hear. Yeah. Like, you don't hear about success stories from either from the basis of the play, like in the theater world, or just hearing about two people just being able to communicate properly. So the fact that we had to learn how to do this as an exercise, we had to learn how to do this to grow in our relationship. And so being forced to talk, being forced to communicate what I'm feeling, because you can't just cross your arms and you should just know what I'm feeling, you just know what I'm thinking. It doesn't work. It doesn't, because you're left with your own thoughts. You're left with building this own crazy, story in your mind. And in some cases, you know how he's going to respond. There's a few instances where I had to check myself, because I was allowing myself to write the narrative for both of us. Like, how can I have a whole dialogue in my head and this is not how he feels? This is not how he thinks.
Based on past story.
Based on past experiences. You cannot allow your past to dictate to you what a relationship should be. If anything, it should help build the foundation to grow into what it should potentially become. And with the help and guidance of God, along with that, it should help you groom yourself into the individual you should be for your marriage. If that's the ultimate goal for you. If you're just, serial dating, then that's not what God's goal is for you, for your life. If your desire is pure, and it's for the purpose of growing in ministry, growing for the kingdom, and then you also have this desire to be married, then God will honor that. I know for me, I have those same ambitions, and I wanted God to allow me to love the way that he loves. And so being able to experience that with someone who actually gets it, first and foremost, who gets my psyche, because I'm a little nuts sometimes, because I like being different. I like being unique just on purpose. Fix your face. And so I like being that individual who likes to go against the grain, and the fact that he supports me in that, and not only that, but help me to grow in it, because he is definitely outside the box. I was telling him, I said, look at you. I said, you just look at your face. I said, I did not think that I would be with somebody like you. And that's so honest, like, for real. Like, for us big girls out here, and for just us black women period out here who struggle with some self-esteem issues, like, this for real. Like, look at his face. Look at him. Look at that. He is cute. And I did not think, I'm just gonna shoot my shot. I'm just gonna put it out there. And you know how you approach that cute dude, or the one in the club, or the one at the library, or wherever you may be. You just say, I just want to let you know that you are, handsome, and I just want to let you know that you enjoy your day, okay? And so, it's to spark a conversation. Yeah. But just being in his world, being exposed to how he thinks, exposed a lot about myself that I did not allow myself to do. I was depriving myself because I would not communicate properly. Like, be in a situation where you should just know how I feel, you should just know what I'm thinking, and get a whole attitude, cop a whole bad attitude for nothing. Yeah. You holding yourself up, sis. Yeah. Like, you really hindering the relationship because you won't open your mouth.
Yeah, and that's what's led us to this moment in our story. Is it's funny she says that, because she's talking about me being cute. I think I'm cute, but I know that means nothing. God looks at the heart, and
we look at outward appearance.
Yeah, that's something that I've been studying for years, because I see what other people can't see in people. I've always been the person who will talk to people that other people may find weird, because I'm a weird person myself, but I'm also like this quote unquote cool person. So my friend base is diverse. Like, I was a theater kid who hung out with jocks as well, if that makes sense. Like, I knew a little bit of everybody along the spectrum, and that's what makes me look at people, because I saw jocks who were horrible people, but they were popular. I saw theater kids who were overlooked, who were most brilliant people you could ever meet. So I knew that it was based in heart. That's how you determine people. So with her, she doesn't even know how I see her. That's the most interesting part of it, because I see her heart. Like, I see her outward appearance. I think she's beautiful, and you know what I'm saying, we're honest enough to know it's like, it's things that we both working on physically. Like, I'm working on myself, she working on herself. We're trying to get to certain aesthetics, but that comes with time. But how somebody's heart is, that's going to determine what their outward looks like. I've met beautiful people outwardly who I thought they were hideous because their hearts were just horrible. They were just in dark places. And I've met people who, you know what I'm saying, outside looking in, you may be like, that ain't really my type. But they heart though, you know what I'm saying? It just make you gravitate towards them. But I feel like I wanted something different for my story, and I saw the love that she had inside of her. And it's crazier because outwardly she keeps getting, like, her smile gets brighter, her eyes get brighter, like all of that, and I just see happiness on her, and it just radiates. And I'm just very grateful to be at this point because I knew that it was there. I knew that the possibility of us reaching this milestone was here, and the direction that I wanted to go in was possible. And like I say, it all started with one download. God gave me a download, and I followed it. I trusted it. And at this very moment, with literally the wedding being 4 months away, man, it's not even 4 months anymore. It's actually 3 months and 20-some
like this
days.
one don't even count.
Yeah, like it's it's like legitimately close.
Bro,
and
90 days.
That's part of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like it's dope because we haven't known each other for a year. And I'm not saying go out and meet a random person and think you're gonna get married. Like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is everybody's story is different. So all my life I've heard, oh, you can't get to know nobody in that time. But how many people have known people their whole lives and they still don't know them, or they're unhappy with them? So you gotta break the rules. The rules are meant to be broken when it comes to love, and you just gotta be open. And even when it's not going well, when it's time to walk away, that's fine. But you gotta really look for the signs, trust God in those moments when those signs are given to you. And that was on my end. And then on her end, you gotta be ready for what you said you prayed for. You got to. And that's a big part of what our story is. So just listening to God, listening to ourselves, and listening to our significant other enough to hear what it is they're needing from me in order to move this story forward.
And be mature enough to handle it.
Yeah, because
the responsibility.
It's huge, and it's very much possible, and it doesn't take long for you to reach these conclusions if you get out of your own way. If you set your ego down, and both of you all are in a position of submission, to just come to this moment to say, look, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I need from you, can you do this? Well, this is what I'm looking for you, or from you, can you do this for me? Okay, we can do that. Okay, now we can build on top of that.
Yeah.
Then you start to build on top. But if the basic needs are not met, you can't really move forward. And that was one of the biggest things we did to make sure that it was okay to start stacking and building more layers to it, because it's so much to our own individual stories. It's very complex. So in order for our stories to work together, our individual stories had to meet up. And then we can make a story together, and then that's going to pull our families, our friends, and as of now, like the world at large, like perfect random strangers, because we want to see other people happy as well. Yes. So this has been our story. It's so many more details we can throw in there. But maybe we'll do that on a live chat or something one day. But we just wanted to share that because we started off talking about legacy, and our story is what started the whole idea of legacy. So we wanted to share that with you all. As we said, subscribe. That's gonna come across the ass.
Silly.
Subscribe. Hit the bell. Like the video. Share with your people.
Yeah.
And we'll be back. This House of Hagens, we're gonna keep on sharing this stuff. We're just excited to just keep sharing with people. People like it, so as long as people are listening, we're gonna keep sharing it. So as we like to say, light, love, legacy. That's what it is, So y'all go out and be a blessing, and we'll talk to you all soon. Brittney and I, we tackle relationship grows that lead to relationship goals. And I'm going to say that again, relationship grows
Mm-hmm.
that lead to relationship goals.
It was emotional for me I put it this way. You go from going to this process of, yay, I'm getting married. And yes, I'm saying yes to the dress. I got the ring. I got the perfect man. And you have this moment where he can be snatched away from